Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. It's Friday. You made it through the week. Glad to have you with us, no matter where or how you're listening, whether on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref down in Evansville, or on 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked right here on these stations throughout the day as you travel along. No reason to go anywhere else. And for those following along on YouTube, please just hit the like button. That's all I ask. You don't have to subscribe. If you don't want, just hit that like button. That is immensely favorable for us. Appreciate you. Looking forward to chatting it up with Todd Leary on this day as the Boilermakers come to town on Sunday in Indiana with one final chance to make a run to stay in contention for a spot in the NCAA tournament. As unlikely as it may sound or may be, it's still a possibility. And then there's the Big Ten tournament that will roll in after that. So there's more basketball to play, man. And that's not going to change as everyone is looking towards the coaching change, replacement, whatever. That information is not coming anytime soon. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to think of the only information I could imagine coming out would be if Dusty May decided to turn it down and announce that he is either signed a new deal with Michigan or is not a candidate, just to let Indiana fans move on and let the process move on. But hey, that's all. That stuff is still sitting out there, and it's going to be because the coaches are busy, the teams are busy. It's a weird time to do that, but it's when it happens. So just gonna have to wait. Looking forward to talking about the Big Ten and SEC. They were meeting to decide world dominance, to challenge the Klingons for world supremacy. No, I'm sorry. They met just to decide the college football playoff trajectory and some things like that. We'll talk about that as well as the ranking system most likely to change before the 2-year contract is up, which is very surprising. I had already said numerous times nothing was going to change throughout this first 2 years because that's what we were always told, that it couldn't change. It's funny how things change when they need to. It's amazing. You remember when schedules, oh my God, well, this schedule's made 10 years in advance. We can't change that. Then all of a sudden they need new schedules. Oh, boom, let's pump one out. Oh, that one didn't work. Let's pump another one out. It's amazing what can get done if it actually has to get done. So the ranking system most likely going to be changed. That's not surprising. It's something that we all thought. But the peeps in charge, they saw it as well. That did not work out well. As a matter of fact, an example shown was that Oregon, after their bye, they would have, instead of playing Ohio State, would have played the winner of Indiana-Boise State, of which Indiana would have played at home. So very possibly was going to be Indiana. And that would not have been at Oregon. It would have been at a neutral site. I would have been very interested to see that. Very interested. I would have been very interested to see how things played out, period, differently. Not saying that it would have changed the eventual outcome. Ohio State was looking pretty strong. I think it may have changed a few things along the way is all. That's it. But the good news is it's probably heading in the direction it needs to head to. There are going to be multiple teams, most likely, looking for a head coach next season. In not just Indiana. Iowa probably in that going to be in that market, as well as potentially North Carolina. They're on the tournament bubble, so I don't know if that's going to matter for their situation or not, but we'll see. And you've got Kansas, who's not that Kansas is going to do anything with Bill Self. I mean, didn't he just sign a massive? I'm almost positive he signed like a massive extension a year ago, or right after they were pardoned from their or found not guilty in their cheating scandal. But yeah, it's going to be a wild time for college basketball on that market, but it always is, and that's what makes it fun. That's why we love it like we do. And can't wait. Big Ten tournament, not that far off, man. Teams fighting to stay in contention there because 3 teams will not make it. Speaking of the Big Ten, not last night, but it was last night. Northwestern just destroyed Ohio State at Ohio State, 70-49. Mind-boggling. Oh, and shout out to the women. Speaking of Ohio State, one of the best women's teams in the country, only had 3 losses coming into Simon Scott Assembly Hall last night, and the Indiana women just put it on them. Was able to watch a lot of that game, and man, they opened up a lead, kept it, and throughout the third quarter, Ohio State kind of started to move in, got kind of close, but Indiana just pulled back away, and they ended up winning by 18 or 20. That's a solid win there. You want to talk about a resume builder? That's a quality win. Definitely a quality win. But Northwestern, big win last night. USC cannot get it done at Maryland, which would have been a tough chore. 88-71 was the final there. Now, coming up, the only game on the docket tonight, Michigan State at Michigan. Lots of great games this weekend. Oregon at Wisconsin. Penn State's at Minnesota. That's not one of the great ones. Washington at Iowa. That's not one of the great ones. But ironically, those 4 teams are all fighting to make it into the Big Ten tournament. Illinois taking on the Duke Blue Devils in an 8 o'clock prime time matchup tomorrow. And, of course, on Sunday, Purdue at Indiana. It's a 1:30 CBS affair. Later that day from Los Angeles, Ohio State will take on UCLA. And USC is at Rutgers. So, lots going on and plenty to talk about. Looking forward to it all. Todd Leary set to join us in this next segment. We'll get to it. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday, joined by the great Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. For those of you that may have a kid, know a kid, are a kid, but just need help with basketball fundamentals in general, especially shooting the rock, go to myjumpshot.com. Todd Leary, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Yourself?
I cannot complain. I just wish it was a little warmer. That's all, man. Just ready.
I wish it was a lot warmer.
Yes.
A lot warmer.
Yeah, I will take that one. A lot of basketball going on, man. A lot of the Big Ten is turned into a fun race. The race for the title. Michigan, of course, at the top with Dusty May. Michigan State right there behind them a half game, but Wisconsin has climbed the board. They are in front of Maryland, who is tied with Purdue. So we've got all kinds of people up there. UCLA right behind them. Illinois took a major hit, man. They lost their big man, Johnson, that big forward. They had a heck of a trio going between Jokashanis and Ivisic and Johnson. He was a beast underneath, but broke his wrist. And so that's gonna hurt Illinois. And they take on Duke Saturday.
Yeah, that's a big loss. He's a guy that I think has contributed a lot more than they expected him to this year. But yeah, he was a big part. He was a great rebounder, played limited minutes, but was so efficient in the time he was in there. So yeah, that's definitely going to hurt Illinois. This league is just, if we could go back and look at where it was like week 2, week 3, week 4, like it changes so much every week. It's crazy.
Well, Wisconsin and Maryland are two teams that were
hot,
middle of the Packers,
right?
And then all of
they
a
had
sudden,
a couple bad losses. Yeah,
and then they just kept climbing, especially Wisconsin. Wisconsin is looking like a dangerous team for the tournament. Dangerous, and I'm talking about the big tournament.
Yeah, no, I know because they score the ball. I mean, they're, Greg Gard has, I don't want to say completely changed his philosophy of playing, but I mean, they used to be a team that tried to beat you 60-50, and now they try to beat you 90-70, and they're just trying to blow you out and shoot a bunch of threes, and they've got a bunch of guys that can score the ball. Their big guys can score the ball. You know, Michigan gets a lot of attention for the two big guys in Golden and Wolf, but they've got 2 7-footers on. They don't play the same. It's totally different on Wisconsin. But, I mean, they got 2 big guys that step out and shoot threes. I mean, they are legit three-point weapons from out there. They play hard. The Nolan Winter kid, I think they're getting a lot more out of him than they expected. So, yeah, Wisconsin – I think Wisconsin's the hottest team right now, really closely behind, followed by Maryland. And when Maryland gets those guards shooting the ball well, they're really hard to beat. They're a good team. So
And
that makes
Michigan
that loss Indiana had to them that much bigger because they had Maryland beat.
If the nuts, if Indiana beat Purdue and Maryland, we're having a different conversation. Michigan winners of 6 straight or 8 straight. I think it's 6. I can't read very well, but at least 6. It's either 6 or 8. I can't read it. I thought it was more than that, but they're rolling. But they're winning all these close games. They're tight, but I think that'll bode well for them. Come tournament time, but at the same time, you start to wonder, they let teams in every one of these games, or are they not able to put them away?
Does your time run out? Yeah, do you run out? Right.
And so, it's going to be fun. But and how about Michigan State, the team that we saw not play well, especially against like Indiana, and then they bounce back and go get an improbable win. You're like, wow. So they're playing stronger, but them in Michigan, they're gonna, they have to play
a big game tonight.
Boom tonight, and then they have to play again.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be the only game I think in the Big Ten tonight, is it? I think I just said that. I can't remember. So, but that'll be a fun one to watch. That's at Michigan, I believe.
Yeah, I think tonight's at Michigan. I could be wrong, but I think tonight's at Michigan. But yeah, it's the league is just crazy. Like, some of the teams that were on the top at the beginning, I really thought Purdue was in a great position. They had put themselves in a really good position, and with their schedule they had left, I thought they were set up pretty well. But they've hit a couple bumps lately, and so they're struggling. And coming in here to Bloomington on Sunday, I hate when Indiana ends up being teams get right games. So I just hope these guys can defend home court and not let Purdue get back on track here in Assembly Hall.
Ohio State is a team that I don't know how they've got these great metrics somehow, but boy, did they just take a bad, gnarly loss at home to Northwestern. They pummeled them 70-49, 49 points. That's we've seen teams score that in a half this year.
Yeah, and pretty recently, and a bunch of teams. But yeah, I mean, this Ohio State has 2 really bad home losses, and one of them's Indiana, and one of them is Northwestern now. So those. You're right about their metrics. Like, that's why I just don't really understand completely how the net system works, because it seems like they've got some really bad losses on there, yet they still sit up there pretty high in the net.
Absolutely. It's surprising, but it is what it is. But a lot of great games this weekend, as a matter of fact. I mentioned in the Big Ten, that Illinois-Duke game probably looked great on paper a month ago, but after they lost Johnson, that's going to be a tough chore for Illinois with the freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, look, Duke is playing as well as anyone, but their competition level. I mean, could you believe 5 years ago we would have said the ACC is down league? I mean, they used to be the team where there was 9 ranked teams in their conference, but Duke just they don't play anybody, and that's crazy to say because the names they play are big. Like the North Carolinas of the world, but I mean, North Carolina is not very good. And so, yeah, Duke, this will be an interesting game. I think it being at Madison Square Garden will be a little bit interesting. I'll be interested to see how Illinois responds. I mean, look, when Illinois shoots the ball well, they're as good as anyone. And I think you could probably say that about a lot of teams, but it's just one of those scenarios where that game, you're right. A month ago, you said it just right. A month ago, that game looked bigger on paper than I think it does today. And I don't think it's just from the Morez Johnson. I think Illinois has struggled a little bit in the last month.
Yeah, they have. Yokashanis is a great freshman, but not always consistency there. And Ivisic, and that they seem to have a little bit of a drop off from there. They don't have other guys that really chip in when those guys are down.
Some injuries, like Trey White. I know he was a guy that was contributing quite a bit for him. He was especially offensive rebounding early in the season. He's been hurt and he hasn't played in several games. I think he did play their last game, but that was his first game back after 5 or 6 games out. And, you know, Ivicic, he got the flu, and then I don't know if he injury along the way with that, but he's not bounced back from that. You know, he's struggled a little bit, and I think it's kind of that first year thing that you're talking about. And they've, you know, JK has not been consistent, played like a freshman. Some games he looks great, some games he looks like a freshman. So, yeah, they've struggled a bit, but you know, I still think at the end of the year, when it gets down to the NCAA tournament time, I think Illinois is going to be up there as one of those teams nobody wants to play. They're going to pop in. They're going to pop into the NCAA tournament now as a 6 or 7 seed, probably based on their record, unless they go win the Big Ten tournament. And that's a rough game for some 1 or 2 seed to have to play in the second round.
You know, and Michigan, that was someone just pointed it out. I didn't even really realize that. They win that game tonight. They have. I don't want to say they've sewn up the Big Ten title because they have to play Michigan State yet one more time, and I haven't looked at their schedule, but it's getting close to where I think they would only have 4 games remaining, and it's going to get tough to lose that, but possible.
Yeah, I mean, look, with this league, Minnesota just went out and swept California out there. I mean, wins at USC and UCLA. So I mean, this league is crazy, as is the SEC, and you know, it's just college basketball now is a little different, and there's not those, you know, this league is one of those. It's cliche to say, you know, anybody can beat anybody, but this year I think that is much more true than any other year I can remember.
Definitely. I mean, there's still parity. The parity in this league is still there.
For sure.
Michigan has just won these close games. Michigan has won 6 straight because they're winning those close games. Michigan State is starting to catch up. Their schedule, as you talked about, is starting to catch up to them. And then Wisconsin has just been on a tear, as has Maryland. Wisconsin can catch Michigan. That's the thing. If Michigan slips up against Michigan State in one of these two, or even both of them, who knows? And I don't know who else they play in these last few games of consequence. Don't have their schedule pulled up just as quickly as I'd like to, but Wisconsin can catch Michigan. I don't think that Purdue can. They already have 5 losses.
Yeah, they'd have to run the table and you know, get some help also, but you know, when you look at the Big Ten and you know, teams don't want to play, you know, Indiana. Like, even though Indiana's record's not very good, teams don't want to play them. Like, they're a difficult team that can make it really hard to win against them, and so, you know, Indiana's kind of that spoiler team right now, unfortunately. I mean, we wanted them to be one of the ones fighting for the top, but that's just not going to shake out this year, and you know, they're still playing for. So I really, when they first came out with the Big Ten tournament idea, where every team doesn't make the tournament, there's 3 teams that don't make the Big Ten tournament. I didn't like it. I didn't like that feeling of that. I was like, everyone should have a chance at that. But I will say, it's create a lot of intrigue at this point in the season for some games maybe you wouldn't care about watching, but now they have a lot of meaning for teams that are trying to fight to stay out of that bottom 3. And it just makes it like I actually have flip-flopped on that completely. And I think it's probably a good thing. You have to play well enough to get in to have an opportunity to win that Big Ten tournament. And you know, it's created some, you know, some excitement in some of these games maybe at the end of the year you wouldn't be paying attention to.
Well, this very weekend, besides the Michigan State-Michigan game, all right, there's a game that directly impacts the title race.
The top, right.
You've got Oregon at Wisconsin, another game that will directly impact the top. Then you have Penn State, Minnesota, Washington, and Iowa. All 4 of those teams fighting to get into the Big Ten tournament right there. So all those games, USC and Rutgers coming up on when is that? Monday or Sunday? I don't know. But another game. Anyway, it's almost every game now has a meaning to it.
Yeah, and there's a fight. Like, you know, there would be a lot of those games when teams are, you know, they're going to finish towards the bottom and they know where they're going to be seated. They're going to be playing that first day on the Big Ten tournament, which nobody really wants to do. Well, now they do want to do it. Now everybody wants to do it that's in that bottom half. And yeah, you would think at this point there would be one or two teams that you could really say for sure are in there. But even with 5 or 6 games left, it's still up in the air. Indiana could finish in that bottom 3. I mean, I hate to be that way about it. It's not likely, but it's possible. And think about it. Like, Indiana got a big road win at Michigan State, a big road win at Ohio State. Now, they lost one they should have won against Maryland. They probably lost another one they could or should have won against Purdue. So, yeah, Indiana is I think safe from that bottom 3, but they can't lay an egg. If Indiana lost out, they'd be there.
Yeah, there are 7 teams below them, which sounds like a big fat cushion, but it's not.
It's like 2 games. It's like a 2-game cushion.
Yeah, if that, it's and it can quickly spin. So that's what makes this great. Everybody's playing for something. Indiana is kind of playing to stay out of that bottom, but there's also, how weird is this? They're playing to stay out of the bottom to make the Big Ten tournament while still trying to make the NCAA tournament. It's still a possibility, although maybe a little bit of a stretch, but not really.
Highly unlikely.
It's a possibility. So that's a very unique situation where you're so close to both ends.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance. That's where we're at.
Yes.
It's about 1 in a million. But yeah, it's look, they've shown moments of brilliance. You know, they've shown moments of excitement and that they bought in and all of that. And I think these guys, what a strange situation. I can't even relate to it. Never went through a coaching change, never went through a mid-season coaching change, especially one where the coach stays on and is still there. Like, it's just a lot of moving parts to it that none of us can really relate to.
Is he still there?
Yeah, I mean, he's present. He's present. So
yeah.
Not
with Don Fisher, he's not.
This is like a team, a coach going to take another job somewhere in football and still coaching the bowl game. Like, I have never been a fan of this. I don't like it. I don't know that there was a better scenario or solution, but maybe this is the way it had to play out. But it's odd. It's strange. And I don't even know what advice I would give the players in this scenario, because I never had been through something like this before.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on in the locker room. You don't know what's going on in the practice sessions, how that is, how much what the impact that's happening upon them mentally, because, man, you have to be ready to go to win. You have to be locked in.
You got to be focused, Jim. This is something that, and I'm just going to say it this way: as a player, as a player that has played your whole life, you spent your whole life playing basketball. When Coach Knight would say something to us back then, he definitely said some things I didn't agree with. Like, he would tell us how we're going to handle switches, or how we're going to handle, a certain player and how we're going to play them. And I wouldn't necessarily have agreed with it, but I respected him enough, and he was obviously in control enough that if that's what he said we were going to do, that's what we were going to do. And you were 100% bought in. So if that's what he told you to do, you go do it. These players right now, if they question Mike Woodson, I'm not sure they give him that total respect. Maybe they do. I don't know. I've not been at practice. I'm not suggesting they don't. I'm just saying it's a little different. When your coach is on the way out, when the school doesn't have enough confidence in him that they're getting rid of him at the end of the year, do you listen to him quite as much, or do you maybe do things your own way? And I'm just saying that's a possibility. I know with Coach Knight, whatever he said was the law. We did it, and that was it.
Yeah, but that's been a question all season long now, though, is what has been going on in there. And now, like you just said, you really wonder if that was a question before, then what the heck's it like now? But we'll have to watch and see. Indiana, you just hope that they have the pride, because they have to take on a Purdue team that is desperately in need of a win. They've lost 3 straight. We'll talk about that on the other side as we'll hit a break with the great Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. Make sure you go there. Check that out. For those of you that know a kid, have a kid, or anybody for that matter that are looking to improve their basketball fundamentals, back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Morale in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios on this Friday. Glad to have you along. Hope you're ready for the weekend. You made it through the week. Survived. It was a kind of a chilly one. It was cool.
Short week.
But
Short week.
that too. Looking for some good temperatures though soon, at least for a little bit. So looking forward to that. Yeah, that would be nice. Indiana taking on Purdue on Sunday in a big game for them. And, of course, in addition to that, you've got the coaching search going on, which I just said over and over, it's going to be weeks before you hear anything. The only thing, before you joined us, I said the only thing that you could hear is if someone said, I'm not a candidate, like Brad Stevens did, just to get out of that. And the only person, well, not the only, but if Dusty May is going to turn it down, I think that if that is a decision he comes to sooner rather than later, he will do the generous thing and get that information to Scott Dolson so Scott Dolson can move on. But I would also imagine that an announcement, I don't know if an announcement would be made, or because where that would send, just that going out would send the Indiana fans into this frenzy of who's next, who's up, which that is the big question, because to me, it starts and ends with Dusty May, and it's going to be his to turn down. But if he were to turn it down, what is that first next call?
I mean,
exactly.
I think it's the normal names. I think obviously, and I'll just I don't have inside information. I'm just gonna say this is how I'm looking at it. If Dusty May doesn't sign an extension with Michigan before the end of the season,
right,
he's holding out for something. Because if I'm Michigan, and I could be wrong, maybe they're not going to offer it. Maybe they're not offering an extension. But if I'm Michigan right now, I'm going at him right now. Because I got first dibs. Like, they're allowed to talk to him right now. Obviously, as an employee of the university, like I'm trying to extend him right now. And if that extension, there would be no reason to not sign that extension unless you had the smallest crack of maybe you might go somewhere else. And I think that's somewhere else for Dusty May. I think probably there's only a small handful of schools that would be, with what he's done at Michigan this quickly. I think the Indiana job's probably the dream job. I think that, and don't know that, but given his location of growing up and what he did for Coach Knight and as a manager, I would assume that's a dream job. Don't know that, but if he doesn't sign an extension, I would say that's a sign. That's a good sign for Indiana fans. I don't think he really needs to make an announcement or do anything if he doesn't sign that extension. Michigan has to be trying to extend him. So I just leave that at that. Beyond that, I mean, I think Bruce Burrell's probably, is that crazy? Maybe. It might be. I mean, would you leave the situation he's created for himself and at Auburn? I mean, maybe, probably not, maybe. But I think he's definitely a guy that you talk to. I think the other names that we've all heard, Chris Beard and I think the McCollum guy at Drake is somebody that I really think that I don't even know if Dusty May was the number one candidate. I don't know that would be my only interview. Like I truly believe like I would try to interview 5 people. If they gave a list of football coaches last year that they were going to interview across the country, and one of those 5 names was Curt Cignetti, I don't think Indiana fans would have been sitting here going, "Oh, well, if they can get him, they have to sign him over all the other candidates." But look how that's worked out, and it's just the right fit. And I mean, he has pushed every right button that there is. I mean, I'm not going to beat that dead horse. We all agree what a successful season Curt Cignetti had in year 1 at Indiana football. I think that only came from Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten sat down across from him. He wowed them to the point where they walked out of that meeting and said, that has to be our next football coach. And there might be that scenario in basketball. There might be a guy that we don't think is in that category that can do that. And to throw names out there, I mean, we're all going to do it. That's what we do. That's why we love sports. That's why that's why our shows are still in existence. But I hope that Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten and the powers that be there sit down and interview some people and walk out of a meeting and go, that needs to be our guy.
Yeah, the one thing that they're doing different this time for the basketball coach is the same thing they did do when they hired Curt Cignetti, is use the search firm. And that gives to me is great because you have someone that they're going out and looking through all of these guys. They know who the candidates are as well. Now they vet them, they go through them and do all the things that it's difficult for an athletics department to do. But this obviously worked very well in the Curt Cignetti.
Why is
hire.
that? What do you mean? Like, I don't understand.
Well, I meant doing.
I'm not trying to be
background checks.
argumentative. I just
doing background checks and all this stuff. They do all that kind of stuff. So, and you don't have like in-house that you don't have a department to do all that. So, but using it worked well for the Curt Cignetti hire, and that's kind of how they arrived at that.
But Jim, they use those search committees. I remember Greenspan hiring some committee out or wherever. Like, they've used those search committees for every hire that we've done so far, except for Woodson. And it's just never worked out. Like
Fred Glass didn't use one.
Those.
That's what Fred Glass didn't use one when he hired Archie.
I mean, you know what I mean. Like, we've just done, like, I remember Greenspan hiring somebody on the outside, and hey, Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten have a pulse on this university and what they want. And I think that they probably learned a ton of stuff. They didn't just get lucky with Curt Cignetti. I think they probably taught themselves some things. They learned the process a little bit more. Every time you go through it, hopefully you come out of it better on the other end. And hopefully, I just don't think, unless it's Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is a no-brainer. I mean, but I'm just saying, unless a guy like that says, yes, I'm going to take that job, I do think you go through the interview process. I think you, even though I think Dusty May is candidate 1A, I think you interview 1B and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and just see. You might walk out of those meetings, and like I can tell you, I know specifically of a Division I program in the state of Indiana that they knew who they wanted to hire, and they brought a couple people in for an interview process, and they didn't hire the guy that they for sure thought they were going to hire before the interview process. They hired somebody different because somebody walked in and wowed them. And I'm not saying it always works out, because that scenario didn't work out either. But I just want Indiana to look. I respect what they did with Coach Signetti. I think, like I said, he's pushed every right button, and I think that guy's out there, and you can find that guy. And I just don't like. I think Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten know more about the athletic department and Indiana University than some agency we're going to hire. So I trust them more than I would trust that.
I agree with you. They have done a great job, and I think that they know the importance of this. That's the thing. It's not. This is not just Indiana basketball needs to be good. No, it needs to be good for the university, for the school, for the town.
This is a Jim,
for
this
everything.
is a legacy. This is a legacy hire for Scott Dolson. This even with what he's done with Kurt Signetti
and Pam Whitten.
Hire.
And Pam Whitten,
Yeah.
because she was on the Kurt Signetti hire, and when you get to hook your name to that ride.
Yeah, but she could. She has other irons in the fire with the whole university. She's president of the whole university, not just athletics. So she's got a little more. This is Scott Dolson's whole baby. Like,
oh, absolutely.
This is the whole thing. And I know there's a bunch of other programs involved, but this is the state of Indiana, and I'm not trying to be arrogant or a jerk about it, but basketball is king in Indiana. Football's king at Ohio State and Notre Dame and Georgia and all those places, but in Indiana, basketball is king in Indiana, and that's the hire you got to get right, and that's the one that they've struggled with. And I think this is the legacy one. I don't think if this one's the wrong hire, I don't think Scott Dolson gets another chance.
Why has it been so hard for Indiana to get this right? This hire, because
my honest opinion, because they've had the wrong people. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I hate when I just said, you want me to be honest with you? I hate when people say that, because that means the rest of the stuff I said wasn't honest with you. But I mean, I'm just going to be point blank about it. Like, I think they've taken the wrong approach. The wrong people have been making I don't want a search committee. Like, Scott Dolson knows what this university needs. He knows the process. I think he needs to be given the rope to make that hire on his own. Pam Whitten would be involved. So I'm not just saying, but I mean, I don't need a search committee. I don't need the board of directors to tell me, who we're going to hire. And
well, I don't think there's like
power.
I don't think the search committee is doing that so much as just doing the background stuff for them, the tedious stuff.
If somebody is already a head coach, let's use Chris Beard. Let's just not mince around it. Let's just use Chris Beard. He's been vetted by the people at Mississippi. So I mean, like, if he's already a head coach at any university, Division I, 2, or 3, he's been vetted at that point. Like, he's not a violent criminal that we got to be worried about or whatever. Do they all have? A lot of them have baggage of some sort. Almost every candidate's going to have some baggage, and I think that's why Brad Stevens is the one guy that doesn't have baggage, and he's got some issues that he and his family might have some personal issues based on what we've been told. I don't know that, but. With the university, or people that have been at the university, or something that happened with the university. But I mean, he's probably the only candidate that he's been out of college basketball long enough. He doesn't have, anything that we've talked about. I don't know. I just think that these guys, the search committee thing, they all do it. I get it. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I like I said, I think that they're just doing. I don't think they have any bearing on who the names are. Indiana may give them the list of names and just say, hey, I want you just to do this, crap that we don't want to mess with, that we don't have in-house people to do. And just like, it's like hiring a painting crew. You don't have your own painters. You just hire some outside painters. Hey, just paint these walls. I'm going to design it. And when you're done, but anyway, it's just going to be interesting because if Indiana does not get their 1A, which I agree, 1A is Dusty May. It has to be. There's a possibility he says no. And if he says no, I don't know who 1B is. I don't know who 1C is. I don't know who 1D is. I know these listed names, but I don't know in which order they go in.
I agree. And the fun part is for each person, for each fan, for each analyst, that list is different. 1B, 1A and 1A, 1B, and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all different. They're in different orders. They might be the same names, but they're in different orders. And it's funny because I talked last week with a very loyal fan of Indiana University and donates a lot, does a lot for the university. And the person who I consider 1B, consider a candidate because of some background information and stuff like that. And so it's just interesting to me, like he's just one.
Is that Chris Beard?
It might be.
Well, I'm one of those people that while I think that he would kill it at Indiana, I think he would be a great fit. I know that players would probably like to play for him in a way that they played, that you liked playing for the coach you played for in certain ways as the coach. But I don't know that they will be able to get past his baggage, I guess if you had to say.
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. And
I hate
that.
And it sucks because the whole thing is make Indiana basketball great again. Well, boy, it seems like it's a very easy solution. Well, you get Dusty. Oh, you didn't get Dusty? Okay, well, you get Chris Beard. It seems like a very easy solution. Unfortunately, it is not that simple.
Well, I think it goes back to what I said a little while ago about Scott Dolson, and this is the legacy hire for Scott Dolson. This one can't be wrong. Like, I don't think he'll get another opportunity if this one's wrong. And so is he willing to put all of his weight behind someone that if there was another issue, let's just call it straight out. If there was another issue with Chris Beard, the obvious thing everyone nationally would say is, well, they should have known that to begin with. Look, he has a history of doing that. But then on the other side, there are people who change. There are people who grow. And I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, and you're not either. And hopefully most people are improving and getting better. And so, I mean, do you give a guy a chance? Like those are the decisions that you have to weigh. And I honestly believe because of the size and the importance of the decision from Scott Dolson's perspective, because I think it's that important for his legacy as the athletic director at Indiana University. I think that those factors weigh bigger. I think you probably know I've been a Chris Beard advocate for like the last 10 years. Like I like his coaching style. He pays homage to Coach Knight on a regular basis, which, as an Indiana player that played for him, I appreciate. Not necessarily sure it puts him above anyone else in some people's eyes, but in mine, maybe it does. But I'll just say, like, I'm not the one, like, my reputation and my reputation and legacy as my job is dependent upon it, like it is for Scott Dolson. And I think Scott Dolson is in a position, this has to be the right hire. I think we said that last time, but this is factual. Like I'm not even kidding. I don't think if this one doesn't work out in the first 4 years of this coach being here, I don't think Scott Dolson gets to make that decision next time.
Ironically, if you polled the fans, and I have, and I've seen another one, I think it would be shocking to people who haven't how far the difference in Chris Beard and Dusty May. the desired by fans. Chris Beard is a kind of a runaway leader in that category of that's who the everyday fans, that's who they want. They're tired of losing. They're tired of not seeing discipline on the basketball floor. They're tired of not seeing disciplined games, losing games because you're not disciplined, because you're not prepared, just because. And they know that there are coaches out there. Now, the one thing that I keep seeing people, well, you got to get an alpha coach. You got to have an alpha coach. Dusty's not alpha enough. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure I even know what that means anymore. How do you know what's going on behind practice walls? How do you know?
Yep.
Just because he doesn't cuss on TV, because he doesn't throw water bottles? I'm like, look, he freaking wins. He wins. He's won. He's won at two different places. He's about to do the unthinkable and take a crappy Michigan program that was in the dumpster and win the Big Ten with them. How hard is it? And if he wins the Big Ten, does that make it harder for him to leave Michigan?
Well, I mean, think about it this way from a Dusty May perspective. If he had done, and he's getting accolades and national attention for what he's doing at Michigan, but just imagine this as an Indiana fan. If he had done this at Indiana, if Indiana had hired him a year ago and he had come in here in year one, built a new roster and won the Big Ten or fought to win the Big Ten in year one, he would already have a statue built outside the arena for him. Now, Jim, that to me is why I do think there's a strong likelihood if he's offered the job, he takes it. Because they're not building any statues in Michigan. They're going to be very excited and happy that their basketball program is good. And at the end of the day, they can't wait till the spring football game. Can't wait for football season to come around. And that is the life forever. And I will tell you this, there might be some coaches that is what they want. They can hide behind, let's just say this. When you're at Georgia, if you have a mediocre year as a basketball team at Georgia, that's probably considered a win. Yeah. Because this is not entirely true. They don't really care. Like I'm going to say they don't care because it's football school. End of the day, it's a football school. And I think that some coaches wouldn't mind hiding behind that layer of expectations, but at Indiana it's different. And if he had done what he did at Michigan this year at Indiana right now, I'm telling you, they would already be considering him one of the best of all time. And they'd be talking about it, they'd be extending him until year 2075 right now.
And he would have done that because he would have brought Vladislav Golden with him. He would have brought a couple of the other players with him, and he would have had resources that he did not even have.
Agree.
So there's
totally agree. And that's why I think this job, that's why I think if he's offered it,
he's definitely going to be offered.
He's having it at Michigan. I don't see how he turns it down, to be honest with you.
We shall see. What's up next for you, brother?
No, just excited to watch some basketball all weekend long.
Yeah, a lot of it, plenty of it. You got some warm weather coming, just not here yet, man. Nobody's been.
Usually the Indiana Purdue weekend, I'd be so excited. It's a Sunday game, like you'd be so nervous for it all weekend.
Well, at least
unfortunately,
the game in West Lafayette should have given some hope. So maybe we'll see.
Sure.
Man, somebody send some get well packages to Todd, people. He's down. He's down.
He's
we got to get him back up.
Today. Yep.
Hey, brother, appreciate you as always. Have yourself a great weekend. Todd Leary joining us here on the program. We've got more coming up. Zach Osterman will join us on the backside of this break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. with a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music. You can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Grateful to have you along. Appreciate you, no matter where and how you're listening. If you are following along on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button for us, please. We appreciate it. I'm not even going to ask you to subscribe. Who cares about that? Just hit the like button. 4 more weeks of speculating. Exactly. It's like Groundhog Day, man. The AD came out and saw his shadow. So at least 4 weeks, probably. That's the thing, because of where the time of year, like I keep saying, everybody's busy, everybody's working, everybody's under contract. You don't want your guy, the head of one of your biggest divisions, if you're a company, the head of that division, you don't want him talking to another company in the busiest time of your year. So that's where we are. Andy says he still thinks Scott Drew is a sneaky pick. Nobody is really talking about him because he turned down Kentucky last year. Sounds like there's more intrigue on his end about IU. Why is that? Why does it sound like there's more intrigue? I've not really seen anything. I'm not doubting you. I'm just asking you. I haven't seen anything, but ironic that you say that, because I was thinking the same thing yesterday, that Scott Drew's name has just been quiet on this deal. And he's very attainable from a financial standpoint. He fits into that bucket that everybody else does. But who's not? There are some guys you eliminate, like Todd Golden. Let's see, TJ Ossenberger. I think he's got an extraordinarily high buyout, so he's off the table. Mick Cronin is stretching it. But the thing about this is, if it's not Dusty May, or even if it is Dusty May, there's no coach that's going to be hired now. And whether it is Dusty or it's Chris Beard, that there will not be a faction of fans that are disappointed, because every name that comes out, somebody says no to this guy, no to that guy, no. But the funny thing is, when people go off on like Rick Pitino and names like that, Rick Pitino is not coming to Indiana. First of all, he wouldn't come to Indiana. He's not going to come live in Bloomington. You don't know anything about Rick Pitino, first of all, if you're even thinking that. He's in Boston right now. He's in the Northeast. Where he's from, well, no, actually he's in New York, right? He's in I was thinking Boston College. St. John's. What is that in? Is that in Brooklyn? I can't remember. But he's in New York. He's not coming to Bloomington, Indiana. Number one. Number two, Indiana's not going to hire Rick Pitino. First and foremost, because he's 72 years old. That's why. They should have hired him last time around. Let me tell you how much they'd be winning right now. He's a winner. I don't care. You talk about the cheating stuff. He didn't cheat any more than Mike Krzyzewski cheated. Adidas did. All the other crap that goes on, those guys purposely remove themselves from that. Now, yeah, it's a whole different world now, unfortunately. Just like I don't get the unbelievable negativism that is towards Kelvin Sampson. He made phone calls, text messages, and he was trying to win. You had other people that were doing far worse than that at big name schools, getting away with it, and yet the Indiana fan base just lambasts him. But he was a hell of a coach, I'll tell you. The best coach that Indiana's had since Bob Knight. All right, like David says, Bruce Pearl and Chris Beard are proven coaches, would be his first two calls. Well, again, I think the age factor in on Bruce Pearl, and we've talked about Chris Beard, but Zach Osterman, the Indy Star beat writer, joins us now. And Zach, how has your week been, man?
Hey, how we doing?
Pretty good, brother. About yourself?
Can't complain. Just trying to stay warm.
Yeah, how were the kiddos this week?
Oh, good. Just banging along.
That time of year, yeah, especially when it's outside. You got to keep them inside and keep them entertained. Of course, Indiana, a major game this weekend with Purdue coming into town on Sunday. Unbelievably, they still have a shot of making the NCAA tournament. Of course, that's going to require them to do some things that may be likely or unlikely, but they have the opportunity to do it. And after the performance they gave in West Lafayette, there's no reason to think that they can't. This is a Purdue team that has lost 3 straight for the first time in 5 years. Can Indiana make 4? You've got a Purdue team that desperately needs a win because they're trying to stay in the Big Ten race. Indiana trying to stay out of the bottom of the Big Ten and perhaps find a slot in the NCAA tournament. So there's all kinds of things that are on the line for this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think people watching, listening here will know kind of where Indiana is, broadly speaking, in the course of its season and the complexion of kind of what's going on. I am fascinated by Purdue. I mean, this is obviously a team that has won, what is the phrase I'm looking for? A program that has won the Big Ten, I think, each of the last 2 years. And, they were not shy about saying their stated goal this season was to make it 3 in a row. And for a while there, I mean, they started 11-2. You kind of had some explainable defeats. Penn State was a different team back in December. Ohio State at home was not necessarily a great game, but, you backstop that with 4 straight wins, including a blowout of Michigan. But now they've lost 3 in a row, and I don't know that they've necessarily been horrible in any of these 3 games, but one way or the other, they are kind of, for the first time in a long time, on the outside of the Big Ten title race looking in. And I'm not saying they can't win the league, but it's going to take something pretty extraordinary at this point with, Michigan having, I think, 4 of its last 6 games at home. Washington's got 3 of its last 5 at home, plus a trip to Minnesota in there. Point is, you got an Indiana team that is just kind of desperate to feel like it's got a foothold in the season that it can stand on to try and attack these last 2 weeks and maybe build a bit more of an NCAA tournament argument. And you've got a Purdue team that is, suddenly, I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say, frankly, reeling a little bit. And it's going to be fascinating to see how both of these teams respond to that kind of environment on Sunday afternoon, especially given we know what this rivalry atmosphere is going to be. We know what it's going to look like if it's a competitive game down the stretch. I'm just fascinated that you got two teams that could really, really use a win for different reasons here, and I'm fascinated to see how that goes.
Yeah, a quick question off the reins here, not to get off the subject, but the Fear of God uniforms scrapped by the women's team, and then apparently now the men's as well. Those are not going to be worn. For those of you, that's just something that Adidas came out with, an alternate uniform that was announced, but now is going away. Any idea what that is? No reason has been given.
I know that. All I know is, and I don't want to speculate too much, but I have had readers contact me expressing concerns over and I've not understood it in full, but the connections between Kanye West, who's obviously become a very controversial sort of personality, and this particular clothing line. Of course, if I'm not, I don't want to speak out of school here, but I believe Adidas and Kanye West used to have a partnership that Adidas canceled. But I think there may still be some sort of loose ties here. Does that factor in? I mean, I asked about it. I have not gotten a response, but that is kind of the only thing that I would be aware of that would sort of explain it. So, I mean, again, I don't want to speculate. I guess I just sort of did. Forgive me. But I'm also just presenting like I've had readers contact me with these concerns. So that's kind of the best I can sort of guess.
Well, at least it's not see-through. So I guess we have that going for us in reference to his girlfriend's, soon to be ex-wife now, I guess, what she wore to the Emmys. Also, the Crown tournament. I was not even aware of this for a while. And the Crown tournament, for those of you that have been listening for the last couple of days, 16 teams that do not make the NCAA tournament from the Big Ten, the Big East, and the Big 12 will play in Las Vegas in a tournament that is kind of not replacing, but in lieu of the NIT. But this has been a partnership with Fox and AEG, I believe. But what my question is, do conference teams have the option to opt out of this since this is a conference sponsored event?
Yeah, I have talked to some people about this. It's the last I checked, no one's really clear, because there are some, as you talked about there. It's a Fox specific thing, and obviously Fox wields a substantial amount of a sort of influence with all three of those conferences, but the Big Ten being the most sort of powerful one. So I don't know if it would be quite as simple to turn down a place in this tournament as it might be to turn down, for example, the NIT, which Indiana did a year ago, and Indiana was hardly alone in doing. That being said, I would be pretty surprised if Indiana winds up in the frame for something like this. I would be a little bit surprised if there was not some way for Indiana, if it wanted to, and I would think it would, given its current circumstances, be able to sort of maneuver out of participating in some just for this year, and basically just saying, hey, listen, we've got obviously more sort of pressing short and long-term concerns here that we got to try and go attack. We just can't, can this be a year that if this does apply to us, that we just sort of, make sure it doesn't apply to us, because we got to be ready to move quickly in the event that, a prime target falls out of the NCAA tournament or something like that. So, I mean, the last I checked with anyone, no one was really sure exactly how this was going to work or exactly how it was going to affect Indiana. But I guess I would be a little surprised, given the specific circumstances around Indiana's season and off season this year, if this was going to go, if this was not going to be this sort of thing that Indiana might try to politely, sidestep.
Yeah, and I would think that even no matter what the official situation is, that when you're in a situation like Indiana is at this moment, that they could reach out to, whether it would be the league or Fox, and say, hey, we're in a different kind of a situation here in the middle of a coaching search, and we would like to punt on this year. I don't think that would be an issue. I guess maybe that's not true. Maybe Fox would like to have Indiana in there for the ratings, because they still are a ratings getter. So
I'm sure yes, I'm sure they would. Yes.
So yeah, I still think that they would bite the bullet and say, yeah, okay, because the importance of the school, the program, and all that comes first, and continuing on the season in a tournament like that, I don't know how much there is to gain from that, how much the players would be locked in.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I think there's some monetary incentive to this, and I don't remember if that is like an NIL thing, or if it's just like a wider, sort of thing. But it is a little bit. It's supposed to be styled in a way that makes it more appealing than the NIT. Like that's essentially the point here. I mean, basically, the way to think about this is Fox has its arms around 3 of the 5 big brands in college basketball: the Big Ten, the Big East, and the Big 12. The ACC and the SEC are obviously ESPN sort of, related conferences, or tied to ESPN
entities, or
Fox does not have any role. Fox has clearly been pushing harder into the college basketball space in the last 10 years. We've seen the expansion of national games on Fox, Fox pregame and studio shows. Fox has become particularly more ingrained, I think it's fair to say, with the Big Ten and the Big East, 2 conferences that have tremendous, sort of basketball heritage. The Big 12 more and more so now, too, bringing Arizona in, and and even maybe some programs like Utah that are secondary but have some history in basketball. But it has clearly been a priority for Fox in general to just open up the college space. We can even extend this to college football. Fox does not have any role in the NCAA tournament. And if you look at the sports calendar, once college basketball ends, there's really not a lot for Fox for a while. There's obviously national baseball games as the season gears up, but that's about it. The Fox is not involved with the NBA. It's had some involvement in the past with some summer soccer tournaments and things, but those things are not even annual. I think it's fair to say this is Fox trying to sort of carve out for itself some sort of opportunity in the college basketball postseason space. And the way that Fox wants to do that is to ensure that it gets big brands, because I don't think it is unfair to say that while I think the teams that make the NIT, deserve to have opportunities to go on and win games and win things, nobody gets excited about the Cinderella idea in the NIT the way they do. If UNC Asheville wins its conference, but then loses its conference tournament, except in extreme cases like the Robert Morris Kentucky game about 10, 11, 12 years ago, nobody's getting excited if a mid-major beats a high major in the NIT, because the mid-major is not going to be cast as Cinderella in the same way, and the high majors in the NIT, because they're not that good to begin with. This to me is Fox looking for a way to say, let's get premium brands on the screen from multiple conferences in a postseason that isn't built to rival the NCAA tournament, but is built to give Fox some kind of stake in the college basketball postseason. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. Near term, it makes money. Maybe it's something that eventually usurps the NIT and becomes kind of the premier sort of other postseason tournament. Long term, maybe it gives Fox a bit more of a foothold in the sport, which is eventually, I think we can all tell, going to be touched by expansion and consolidation and power 4 autonomy and power 2 autonomy, in the same way that we see the playoff sort of fiddled with over and over again. I know there are already some suggestions about expanding the NCAA tournament. Well, if Fox creates a bit of a carve out for itself in the landscape of the college basketball postseason, then maybe that gets Fox a seat at the table at some point down the line, particularly if Fox is limiting its tournament to just the high majors, just the quote unquote sort of big brands. And yeah, if you were Fox and Indiana came up just shy of the NCAA tournament, I mean, imagine a world where Fox in its first year of that tournament could get maybe Indiana, USC, and Ohio State. I mean, those would be meaningful sort of brands with fan bases that would engage and follow, and it would be a big deal. But I just think that from Indiana's perspective this year, I don't see how that benefits IU at all, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. The coaching search, of course, continues, and it will continue for several weeks as everyone that would be a potential candidate is busy under contract and serving another university right now, so they can't be spoken with. But Indiana using the search committee this time around on the basketball coaching hire. When's the last time? It's been a while since they've done that. Todd mentioned Clarence Doniger, so I guess you have to go back to then. I don't think that they've done that much in the last couple. But
you mean a search firm?
Yes. What I say?
Indiana's engaged a search firm somewhat consistently. I'm almost certain they did when they hired Archie Miller. I don't remember if they did when they hired Mike Woodson. Obviously, that was a slightly different process. COVID was involved in the consideration then. They did engage turnkey when they hired Curt Cignetti. So, I mean, broadly speaking, it's not a new thing for Indiana to engage a search firm, an outside firm. I'm not talking about a committee. I'm talking about an outside firm.
Right. Pardon me if I said that. That was a
that has been pretty consistently common for Indiana, particularly its bigger coaching searches. I think the smaller ones, like when Indiana hires a women's soccer coach, things like that, you're not necessarily going to go, pay turnkeys fat fee for that. But I think that the bigger searches are or have been pretty consistently involving search firms in the last several years.
And just for the search firm is not necessarily coming up with candidates, right? It is more about vetting candidates, more about finding things that the university may not have the ability to do, just the minutia of things that goes along with that. Am I correct in that? Or do they also offer up suggestions on potential candidates?
Well, they can do a lot of different things. So they can number one, help you revise your own thinking. And, I think Scott Dolson's process in hiring Curt Cignetti, I think is going to wind up being very instructive in his process in hiring whoever replaces Mike Woodson.
And that would happen very fast too.
Well, but what you found out after the fact was that in the weeks before he fired Tom Allen, anticipating the possibility that might be the eventual outcome of that season, Dolson asked a group of people he trusted sort of within the department to do a forensic analysis of Indiana's last 25 or 30 years in football and say what worked when we were good. What were the common markers? What were the common threads? Then he asked them to look at some similar programs like Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, I think either North Carolina or Duke, maybe both, and basically asked the same question. When these programs have been consistently competitive over a period of time in sort of the modern iteration of college football, what has worked? What has been consistent? Sort of almost like thinking about it with that old, sort of like the Moneyball way of thinking about what is it? What are the common threads that seem to bind all really good teams together? Well, one of the things in baseball is they get on base. Some teams do it by hitting home runs. Some teams do it by getting walks. Some teams do it, with singles and doubles. But most good offenses like the one constant is they all get on base. Dolson was looking for some of those same markers in his own program's recent history and in the recent history of like programs. That helped Indiana. That helped Indiana kind of build out an ideal profile that it could then talk with Turnkey about, and Turnkey could say, okay, well, let's, have you thought about this? Maybe we polish off you this idea is kind of vague. Can we polish it a little bit? And then Turnkey can take that back into the sort of the search pool, the candidate pool, and say, these are some people that we think fit what you're talking about here, that it might be worth talking to. The other thing search firms can do, the big one, and this isn't the only thing they do, but I think it's probably, if we're talking about their services in a search specifically, this one is probably the most valuable, is a search firm can create a layer of plausible deniability for everyone. So let's live in the world where Indiana, Turnkey and Indiana together refine this list of criteria. They find Curt Cignetti, the head coach at James Madison. He probably fits a lot of those. Maybe you should talk to him. And Indiana says, yeah, let's, that's not a bad idea. Well, what the search firm can do is the search firm can go to Cignetti's representation, to an agent or agents. Some coaches have multiple, and say, would your client be interested in discussing this job? And if the answer is no, then an AD never picked up a phone and a coach never took a call. And at the end of the process, everyone can say in complete faith, the only person I interviewed was this person. Or on the other side, I never interviewed for a single job. And then if, let's say, that initial meeting goes well, as we know it did with Curt Cignetti and Scott Dolson, then the search firm and the agency can trade back and forth some very basic ideas about, okay, well, so what would it take then? It seems like there's some good chemistry here. Seems like there's a connection. Maybe we should take this to the next step. Before we do, what kind of considerations would your man need? Years, dollars, staffing pool, resource commitments. And then everyone can kind of say, oh, well, then, we can't do that. We can't commit that. There's no need to go any further here. Or that sounds good. We think we can make that work. And then you basically can draw up almost like a group of candidates to say, well, this one has these pluses and these minuses, and it will, the overall sort of dollar figure to hire them will be this. And then this one is, this, and this one is this, and you can kind of select from a few. The search firm just helps you structure your search from front to back in a way that helps you move efficiently and often discreetly, so that when the time comes, nobody has to feel like they were ever anybody's second choice. Nobody has to feel like they were ever sort of dragged out into sort of the public domain for discussing something or just entertaining something very loosely, very briefly. Everyone can save some face. Everyone moves a little bit more efficiently through the process. And ideally, if you're Indiana, the process obviously yields results.
And when it comes time that you can do something, you can do so quickly, whether that being the prospects season comes to a close. You can do things within a few days of that once they have been able to make any contact with or have conversations with their end, whether it's their team, their institution, and that can move rather quickly, dependent upon when their season comes to a close.
Well, and that's the other part of it too, is the search firm can probably help you if everyone's kind of done it right, can help you structure things so that when the time comes, because there is a bit of a tight timeline here that everyone's got to honor and try and follow. The search firm can help you set up the infrastructure or the apparatus so that when Coach A, who is your top target, and there's already been some discussion behind the scenes of money won't be a problem, resources won't be a problem. There's probably some alignment here in the way the coach and the AD and the university and the department are thinking about how to tackle the challenge of being more successful at basketball, that whenever that coach's season ends, everything can move more quickly. And you don't have to wait days and days to make certain contacts and try and set certain things up that you can, damn is near just kind of have the plane waiting, basically, to get somebody to an interview, to get through those next steps, to the point where on the back end, it looks like what it did with the Curt Cignetti coaching search, where there's a Zoom on either Sunday night or Monday morning. I can't remember which one it is. And by Friday afternoon, Curt Cignetti is being introduced as Indiana's next head coach.
And the importance of getting this one right it cannot be overstated. But if that does happen, Scott Dolson is going to put himself squarely on the front of Indiana's Mount Rushmore of athletics, because he will have done the impossible and not returning Indiana basketball to a great place, which that's to me a matter of time of getting the right guy, but doing so along with having previously turned Indiana football, which was a breathing corpse, into a live, living, viable program that will be fighting for CFP spots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like it's Indiana basketball. I've done it, and this is not necessarily answering exactly your question, forgive me, but Indiana, I have compared Indiana to I've compared basketball to other sort of experience, searches, program building experiences, whatever, that I've covered at Indiana. And I think that's dangerous, because basketball will always be a little bit different here. Like it just always will be.
It's in the DNA. It's in the DNA of the state and the people that grew up.
There's I remember hearing a story after Kevin Wilson's second season as head coach. He went 4-8. Indiana, I think, lost 4 of those 8 games by like a combined 10 points. But there were some ugly losses in there. They couldn't stop Navy. They gave up a game-winning field goal in the last second to Ball State. And the prevailing sentiment that Wilson walked into his sort of postseason meeting with Fred Glass was like, I'm going to kind of get raked over the coals here, because we're 2 years in and we're still building. And instead, Fred said, I see it. I see the progress. It's moving in the right direction. I'm happy with it. Just keep building. I don't know that that's the answer you'd get in the same situation from basketball, especially now, where the program has gotten to. I mean, I've pointed this out numerous times, but, Mike Davis got 6 years. If you sort of treat the 3 seasons at the beginning, kind of as their own thing, Tom Crean got 6 years. Archie Miller only got 4. Mike Woodson only got 4. Every subsequent coach here is working with a little bit shorter fuse before people sort of say, well, then maybe this isn't the right decision. Maybe this isn't the solution. We just need to go on and, we got to take it to somebody else now, because this isn't going to work. When you couple that to the cultural importance of basketball here, and frankly, in fairness, the amount of money that I think Indiana is going to commit to basketball, with its next head coach in terms of revenue sharing and NIL and all those sorts of things. I just think that it is dangerous. Even saying this as someone who has done it a lot in the last couple of weeks, it is dangerous, I think, to compare IU basketball and the process that's going to lead IU to its next head basketball coach, whoever that is. And then also, frankly, the resources provided, the expectations attached, all those sorts of things to anything else, even to, Curt Cignetti. But listen, Curt Cignetti, I mean, the process that leads Indiana to Curt Cignetti specifically. But listen, all we have is the lived experiences, right? Like, I mean, that's the best we could do. So I say it's dangerous, but I'm going to keep doing it because I don't really have a better way of going about it. But, I think it is going to be fascinating to see where Indiana lands. And I also think it's going to be fascinating to see what it looks like next, because I think there might be some elements, for example, like staffing and infrastructure around Mike Woodson, that Indiana may want to keep. whether we're talking about the people in those positions now or somebody else filling those positions. I think Indiana might like the idea of a more NBA-like structure around its coach and its program than what it's had in the past.
I'm assuming that does not include having multiple consultants on the payroll, but
I don't know.
There seems like there's a little bloated there. But what's up next for you, brother? Obviously, you've got the Purdue game on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just I think that's kind of everything at this point, is just tracking the way this season ends. Obviously, the way the women's season ends, the women picked up a really, really important win last night. Obviously, already had a fairly compelling tournament case, but I think after that sort of 3-game losing streak, to backstop that with the win over Purdue, which was, of course, important for Indiana, rivalry-wise, and also because Purdue's just not any good and you need to beat them.
Right.
But then
Ohio
also
State only lost 3 times on the season.
Yeah,
and Indiana just obliterated
a high quality win, I think, was really important. And that is the kind of win that a team that maybe has any sort of bubble doubts in a tournament setting late in the season, that's the kind of win that punches a ticket, so to speak.
That's the kind of win that Indiana men's basketball has kind of been looking for. They got one at Michigan State, but they just haven't done it enough. Zach Osterman, the insider for the Indy Star, on the IU Beat. Make sure you are giving him a follow, be a subscriber, keep local papers alive. Check out Zach's videos. He talks in depth about the search, and make sure you're giving him a follow. Appreciate you, brother, as always.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Thank you, Zach. Oh, we'll see you on Sunday. Hey, we've got more coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Hey, make sure you visit Hard Truth over there in Nashville, Indiana. Great place to catch a game. Just go out for dinner, lunch. Great place to visit, especially when it starts to get warmer. Man, oh man, can't wait to go out there. Live music, got it all, man. They've got it all. It's been a fun day, and we're not done. We've got more to talk about. The Big Ten, the SEC. I didn't even get to talk about that with Zach, and I meant to. I could have gone on with him for a while, but the Big Ten and the SEC, I mentioned this earlier, met to take on the Klingons for world domination, all that good stuff. Just kidding. But they are the de facto El Presidentes of the college football playoffs. We're running stuff. That's what these two leagues are saying. We got this. Y'all just follow. And the ultimate for this is driven by Greg Sankey's overall desire to guarantee the SEC 4 spots in the college football playoffs, which I am not in favor of, because you are going to have years like you had last season. And if those spots are guaranteed, you're going to put a team in that I don't think is deserving. Now, was every team that was in it last year deserving? That's an argument that can go on, but that wasn't the big argument. The argument was the seeding. And that screwed everything up. I'm sure it sounded good on paper, but I'm not sure why they didn't figure that one out. But they do now. Now, there's no guarantee yet that is going to change, but they are in favor of it changing. And I mentioned this earlier, it used to be, this can't change until this agreement runs out, which is another year. And that's what we were told initially. But now all of a sudden, if they decide that they want to change it, they can change it. Schedule set, 10 years in advance. We need a new schedule? Okay, boom, here's a new one. That one didn't work. Let's put another one out. So things can be done if they want them to be done. There's no doubt to me that the college football playoffs are going to increase at least to 14, if not 16. Because if the SEC and Big Ten are taking up 8 spots, well, now you've only left currently 4 for everyone else. Independents, Big 12, ACC. They're not going to go for that, which I don't know how much say that they'll have in it, because the Big Ten and the SEC can always just say, okay, well, y'all go do your deal and we'll do ours. I just don't want to see the guaranteed. The next year, the SEC could be 5 deep on its own. If you're worthy of being there, you'll be there. Trust me, they're not going to keep out an SEC team if they're worthy of being in. It just gripes my, that people are so, gotta have mine. It doesn't matter that I didn't earn it. So we'll see how that comes out. But there's no doubt that that's going to end up. That's what Greg Sankey wants. He's going to get it. There's no question. Because the Big Ten will go along because they'll get it themselves. Now, that could work out good for an Indiana or one of those teams that might be, yearly on the bubble of that 4th spot. And that could be the case next season. If the Big Ten are guaranteed spots, see, it works. It can work either way. It can work in your benefit. It can work to your detriment. So there's that. We'll see how that turns out. I think the rest of the college football world is going to meet up with the commissioners of, I guess, the Popes 1 and 2 of college football from the SEC and the Big Ten. Will meet with the rest of the leagues and tell them how it's going to be, I guess, for the most part. That's basically how that is going to work out, because they got it. They drive it. And, truth be told, the Big Ten and the SEC are the engines that drive college football. When's the last time a national champion was not from the Big Ten or the SEC? It is what it is. And the SEC is not going to become a lesser football product. The Big Ten is going to continue to get better. We just saw an Indiana team that was not a program in essence, but made it to the college football playoff. That I will never tire of being shocked when I say that. And they have a legitimate shot of making it back next season. But so does Illinois making it in. So does Iowa. Iowa's going to be better. Now, I think I saw somewhere that someone mentioned that Wisconsin re-upped Luke Fickell for 8 years. And I thought he might be on the hot seat. Here's that story. It's a 1-year extension. Oh, okay. Wisconsin coach Luke Fickell received a 1-year extension on a contract that now runs through the 2031 season. I don't know why you would extend that 1 year, but the school's athletic board approved the 1-year extension recommendation Wednesday. He originally agreed to a 7-year contract, paying him an average of $7.8 million per year. When Wisconsin hired him away from Cincinnati in 2022, the contract calls for him to get an annual review that would result in a 1-year extension based upon satisfactory performance, the athletic director's recommendation, and the athletic board's approval. So this is what is deemed as satisfactory performance. This is how schools get into the position of having to pay large buyouts. I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree. I'm not a Wisconsin fan. I don't care. But I do not call what Luke Fickell has gotten accomplished so far in Wisconsin satisfactory. And this contract is not coming up next year. It was already through 2030. That's all. You've got 5 years. So I'm not seeing satisfactory just yet. I'm punting personally, because now you've added another year. You've added another $8 million plus whatever goes along with that to the contract you would have to pay out. Why? Why do that? Is someone beating on his door? No. Why do schools do this? They continue to the amount that has been paid out in buyouts is staggering. It could feed a nation. It's mind-boggling. So, hey, I got to take another break. We went so long with Todd and Zach, but more coming up here on the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Back with more right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company's studios on this Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Time to get it on. And Indiana off until Sunday, so it's kind of a little open weekend. Indiana women played last night, a gigantic win for them over Ohio State, who had only lost 3 times this season. Man, Indiana had that lead stretched out in the fourth or the third quarter. Then Ohio State made a run, got it to within single digits, I believe. But then Indiana just did what they do and knocked it down from 3-point. They scored on the inside, did a great job, and played really good defense. Started throwing the ball around a little bit in the fourth quarter, getting a little sloppy. Terry Morin apparently put her fist through a whiteout board and fired him up. It worked. Whatever happened, it got the job done. So congratulations to them, as they are very, very likely heading to the NCAA tournament. Don't forget, if you're following along on YouTube, we appreciate if you'd hit that like button. It's easy. Just bang, flip. You can do it right now. Nothing's stopping you. Just hit the like button. Why would you not? Hopefully you enjoy it. So Heath says the fam uproar, I guess that's fan uproar, canceled the hideous jerseys. I don't think that they were hideous. They were just they were just cream colored. The home ones that I saw, just a different layout is all. People get so, I don't understand why people get their panties in a bunch about when jerseys had changed for a minute. They none of this stuff's permanent. What is the big deal? Like black jerseys, I love them. I love when they bring in something different like that. Football or basketball, I don't care. And people just lose their freaking minds. Their Indiana fans do, at least. I don't get that. I don't think other fan bases do that when it comes to that stuff. And I don't want to hear about tradition and all that crap. You want tradition? Then freaking win. That's the only tradition you need to care about. Not what your jerseys look like, not whether or not you have names on the back of the jerseys. That is not what people care about. That's not what people think about. Winning. That is where it begins and ends. If you're doing that, then you can talk about the ancillary crap, but I still think it's ancillary. Who cares? You do things different. It's just something else to sell. It's a different look. It is what it is, but I don't, why get all tore up about it? Let's see. Censor Tube says that fear of God has nothing to do with Kanye, though, besides him wearing it a while ago. Yeah, that might be true. I don't know what the ultimate reason ended up being. Maybe it's just because there's the hint of it. But like I said, at least it wasn't, it's his current wife, but I think they're getting ready to go through a breakup. Sensory, his wife, girlfriend, I'm not sure, went to the Grammys and she wore basically a sheer knit see-through short, whatever the hell it was. So at least they weren't see-through. That would be rough. It'd be a little crazy. I like switching it up. I like switching up when they switch up the helmets. I really miss those chrome candy stripe helmets. I thought those were cool looking. the block I like when you can mix it up a little bit. You know, it's not like you're Penn State or Oklahoma or Alabama. You see those uniforms, you know who it is. There's not a lick of nothing on them, but you know exactly whose uniforms those are. Easily. That's just my take on that. Nobody cares. Nobody asked. Big weekend for games in the Big Ten. Talked about that earlier, but everything impacting what is going on at the top of the standings, in which Michigan, having won 6 straight games, they are 20-5 overall, 6-0 at home in conference play, 12-0 at home overall. They're 6-2 on the road in conference play and overall. Their last 10 games, they're 8-2. That is equaled by Wisconsin and Maryland. So there are your 3 hottest teams in the Big Ten, although Michigan has been there. Maryland and Wisconsin, both. Wisconsin has won 5 straight. Maryland has won 4 straight. Michigan State has won 2 straight. That's coming to a head because tonight Michigan and Michigan State go at it in a game I can't wait to watch. Also this weekend, though, Oregon tomorrow at Wisconsin. That is at noon in Madison. Penn State is at Minnesota at 2:00. All of these games are that game in Washington at Iowa is determining who makes the Big Ten tournament. Illinois taking on Duke in Durham, North Carolina. That's on Fox. And then, of course, on Sunday, Purdue is at Indiana at 1:30. That's on CBS. So, looking up through here, you're either a winner or you're a loser, and I don't like losers, Rudy says. Well, if you're not first, you're just, but if not first, you're the first loser. Or what was that statement by the famous NASCAR driver? I couldn't remember it. So, man, it has been a great day, a fun day as always. Always fun getting to talk to Todd Leary about everything to do with college basketball, the Big Ten, Indiana. Lots of great information there for you guys to decipher through. And in regards to the IU coaching search, that people can chill, and the desire of the fans, I will say this, will not be taken into consideration. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying they've got a job to do. They're doing it how they're going to do it. Checking fan boards and things like that will not be part of the equation on determining Indiana's next coach. So just so you know, that is not a part of it. And I get it, because the majority of the people I'm talking about are not donors. They're fans, but the majority of them are not attending games. So Indiana and Scott Dolson have to do what is best for that university, that program, but most importantly, they have to get it going. And I think that they will. Man, a great week. I cannot thank you guys enough always for being with us. Appreciate every one of you chat people. I really are chatsters. You guys are there every day. Appreciate you showing up. Those of you that follow along on radio or YouTube, doesn't matter. We appreciate you so much. Hit the like button. Back on Monday. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. Hope you have a great weekend. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.